So we're back to talk about On Air, the student broadcast around the world, student broadcast um, by the Media Talent Manifesto and a bunch of other organizations and companies. Hi, guys. I guess I'll go one by one with you, and you can maybe tell me about your involvement in On Air, how you got approached, what the plan was, and what the plans are for this next year. Nikki, I've been told that you are the person
I'm
that
sure I was
with
nominated.
the very busy phone and getting people wrangled. So
Yes.
maybe can we start with you and just tell me about sort of, I guess, a short version of what On Air is,
Mhm.
and kind of how you got involved, and then what were some of the steps in putting together this really. And I watched some of it live. It was like, this is amazing. I'm like actually
Mm.
just watching it because it was really good TV. Yeah, go ahead and start and tell us your story.
Yeah, so On It is an initiative of a live stream with as many universities around the world that we can get involved. Every university gets an hour slot to do their own show. So we gave them full editorial freedom within some rules. So you had some universities doing like a quiz show, some universities doing music shows, but the whole point was that they produced, technically ran their own production, and then we had a HQ team that set up the whole like cloud infrastructure and the streaming, and then we had a hub studio that was based at Ravensbourne. So that was a studio that ran 24 hours. So it was a bit, if you think of Eurovision Song Contest, but with universities doing their own show for 24 hours straight, which we think is world record. We're not entirely sure, but we think that nobody else has done that. And yeah, it was really just to be able to give students that chance to spotlight their talent, their showcase, interact with the industry, and show what they could do. And how it started was Carrie, the founder of this, and this is gonna probably be the same story with most of the volunteers of On Air, is she just came at me with, I've got a crazy idea.
That's Carrie Wooten from
Yep.
right from Media
Yeah, from
Talent
Media
Manifesto.
Talent. Yeah, she just said, I've got a crazy idea, want to go big, want to do a 24-hour global broadcast. Do you want to be involved? And I was just like, yeah, this sounds really fun. At the start, we had no idea how we were going to do it, how many universities would be involved. And it was just first building the team of volunteers. So we kind of call ourselves the HQ team, which are the core team that do the planning for everything. And I took the role as delivery lead slash project manager. So my role was to bounce between the different working groups. As Larissa said, we were a very busy phone, making sure that everybody was staying organized, talking to each other, bugging people like Russell for technical maps all the time, workflow maps, and just trying to connect everything together. And surprisingly, it went quite smoothly. Like I was expecting more fires and it went really well. And we got a really good feedback from it. The universities really got involved. It was great to see at like 4 o'clock in the morning when a university had done their slot in, say, Australia. The India University were on the WhatsApp group, like saying we've watched it, it's really good. So again, just bringing everybody together, it was really, really positive. And yeah, I was blown away by the talent across the different universities.
Amazing. And I've put in the chat a link to the Media Talent Manifesto on air page, but also there's a Google Doc link for anybody who wants to volunteer. And I guess that's a question. How can we get involved? Because there will be, when is the next one? The next one's coming up in
Yeah, the next one is
October.
coming up in October. So this time we're going even bigger than before. So before was one stream for 24 hours. Now we're doing 5 channels. So broken up into categories of news, culture, film, sports, and kids. And with everything, it's sponsorship. We have an awards, which Larissa can talk about because I know she's been doing a prep on how we can get some sponsorship with that. But yeah, volunteers, taking it back to your companies and just showcasing what On Air does. Yeah, there's multiple ways if you go through the website, but sponsorship or volunteers or just general engagement and shouting about it to just raise our profile more.
And then I guess maybe give it to you, Russell. You were providing, and you and other companies providing a lot of tech supports. But I mean, it's the students running this, right? And you're providing infrastructure or gear or just advice, or what is first, how did you come about getting involved first? And then what actually are you providing or what you're providing?
Sure. Yeah. So I work for TechX, and we've long had a history of having graduate um, engineers join. So one of our recent graduates was kind of the first to tip us off on about this interesting project, and I think it immediately made sense to me that we should do that. And I'm the industry engagement manager for TechX, so it's kind of my role to make sure that if there's a good thing that we can be doing, then let's find the right people inside the organization, give them a bit of time, and then they'll enjoy their work more, and we'll be giving back. So particularly with a strong contingent of young engineers, I thought that would be a great way of bringing a little bit of kind of mentorship into that, and working side by side with students. So to see what's the other side of that degree, which of course is what it's all about. And so the question was simply, what is it that we could help with? And TechX specializes in live, whatever live workflows you need, particularly in contribution, particularly in live production. So yeah, we entered into kind of a mix of other sponsors, and we've made this cloud workflow, which is which can be run up, which can do the job, and it's a combination from a number of different places, but it's a role of enabling. So without without the infrastructure, you can't have the show. So there's an element of, well, we've got to put that together, and it's the right thing to do to have companies come in and give free licenses, give free time, and make that happen. But all the time, and this year, we're going to double down on this. It's like, let's find at all points of the chain a way for students to be part of it. So first and foremost, the last year, all of the students at the university itself would put on a show for their hour, and that is effectively like it's an OB. Right? So we've got OB after OB after OB, and so then in the actual HQ, wherever that happens to be each year, it's going to be at Westminster University this year. We then have students who are present, and it's not exclusive. Right? Anybody who can get there could be part of that, and and they can then be involved in either some of the live presentation there, or indeed part of the technology and running that. So last year, it was in the region of 16 universities contributing live. This year, it's far in excess of that. So we've got to deal with a lot more OBs coming in, multiple OBs at once now, and so there's that whole world that nobody ever sees, and it's too far back to get credits on TV of MCRs and routing and checking everything's working. Well, that's where we also want students to be involved in, because if anything, that's the part of one of the parts of the transmission chain that universities struggle to replicate. But what we are trying to do, we could do this in perhaps a more straightforward way, but because it's just one day, because it's just a live stream, which is a little bit different to transmitting and on satellites and other ways. But we don't do that because we want it to be as close to the to an actual media organization's live workflow as it can be.
So, was there anything? I mean, was there anything that you guys learned from it or or was it like, we did this thing for these students, I'll be fine. Was there anything in it that was like, oh, actually, we hadn't really thought about this?
Um, I think I think what it showed us is the value of an MCR and thinking through specifically what that is. Because I think we kind of take it for granted and we just assume that it kind of slides into place. The idea of having somebody there who has the tools at their disposal quickly and easily with button presses to sort out problems, to be able to see what's going on, is something you have to strive hard for, but it's also an essential part of broadcasting, and that is quite hard to do when you're bringing people together on a short time scale. Because what you really have to do is you have to build in a whole lot of infrastructure on top of your infrastructure. It's the same as like how do you monitor it? How do you control it? How do you make it visible? How do you make sure that they can trust what they're seeing and hearing? That is almost you could say that as a separate mini project. And so we're trying really hard to make sure that that level of work goes in this year, because
Mm,
again, that is actually the same. It's the same result. It's replicating what's there in real life. You can get away with not doing a bunch of stuff, but it's not the right thing to do. You get yourself into problems. And when you are trying to show the way and show what type of roles are available that people don't necessarily think of, then it's not the way to go down. So
mm,
yeah, that's I think the importance of that, the level of the importance is what stood out to me when we
yeah.
realized.
It's more than just I just need an iPhone and an internet connection and I'm off to the races. There's more
Exactly.
to it
It
than
seems
that.
easy when you watch YouTube, and hopefully
Hmm.
we'll make it look easy as well when you watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's incredible how much work needs to go in, and the fact that we've got 5 channels this year just shows that if anybody wants to help, there's still going to be spaces.
Amazing. So, Danis, you were a student involved in the broadcast last year. Can you tell us how you got on boards and what your experience was and what did you do?
Yeah. So we had an email go around university and my course leader mentioned it to us. It was like an opportunity. It was like, oh, we're doing a 24-hour broadcast. The uni's hosting it. If anyone gets involved, there's an email waiting for you. And I basically went straight for it because, I thought, well, it's something interesting and it seems like a fun challenge and you get to meet, network, meet people. Um, and so yeah, I put my name down, and then we got a few emails back and forth, and then we got like a list of what everyone would be doing. And so I got put on play out as I think I was for the second shift. But what happened was then I think one person dropped out who was doing who was doing the start. So I ended up doing the whole 24 hours, the whole broadcast, the whole thing. And that was really, really fun. Very tiring, but as well as, I got to meet a lot of people and, discover something new because being just starting my second years when this began, I didn't know what playout was. I wasn't in that kind of knowledge yet. I was in that depth, and being given an opportunity to try something new was really fun. And so I think 2 days before I went and did a bit of training with Livera, which was one of the external companies that organizations that came in and that was going to do play out for us. And it was really nice meeting with Victoria and Sven, who were the one of the playouts from Livera, and did a little bit of training on that day, just a bit of how everything was going to go down, and how to use the software, which was a bit challenging, but it was quite fun. And then I think when the broadcast finally started, I think it was like 1 in the morning or something.
Hmm. And
That's
you were
when it,
because you were in the you were
yeah.
in the and it was all being run from Ravensbourne, so you were
Yeah, yeah,
there
yeah.
for
So
the
I was
entire
in one of
thing.
the
Right,
rooms. Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, we had a lot going on in one room. So playout was on one side of the room, and we had the MCR on the other side of the room, and it was a bit of, chaos, but it was still great. And yeah, I mean, as soon as we started, it was fun, really excited. And it's just really nice also having the communications, being able to communicate with other people across the globe with different universities. It kind of helps you learn different techniques and comms techniques and stuff like that. That kind of helped me get the confidence, and it was just, yeah, just learning how the role happens. And then obviously I think I went off, I think around 3 p.m. just for I tried to go lay down for a little bit. Could only try sleep for an hour, gave up, came back right back, and kept going until the end. And then, but yeah, we had those occasional moments where, it would be quite difficult to make some decisions where we lost, either the audio wasn't right, or we lost some universities, we couldn't get them quite there, ready in time to make those crucial decisions. But at the same time, it was still an interesting project, and that it worked, from the first project, because we know we're doing the second one now with five channels, which is just crazy. It'll be very interesting how that happens. But yeah, I think it went great last year, and I think that going bigger this year will be, yeah, it would be cool to see how it happens, because we know what issues I think we came across last time. But I think the hardest part, I think, will be doing five at the same time. Is obviously we need more player operators on on each channel. So I've already talked to Carrie, and I said, yeah, I would sign me up. I want to get involved again, and it's just, it's another opportunity. And again, you get to network with more people, and there's now more organizations getting involved slowly. And it's
Mm.
like, it also helps me that I know that when I graduate, I can possibly discover where I might want to go next. And yeah, it's
Mm.
much, yeah.
Amazing. Thanks. So Larissa, are you now frantically trying to prepare for this next year's? It's October. October, it seems
It's
far away.
October. We actually have more time this year. I think last year we only had like 3.5, 4 months. So we're actually like winning in life this year.
Oh, good.
But as Nikki and Nikki has sort of spoke about, we're still onboarding universities and colleges. At the moment, we've got unis across the globe, from New Zealand to Mumbai to Cairo, back to the UK again. So part
So
of my
if there
role,
was a uni now that wanted to get on boards, they could
yes,
call you
there's
like
still
literally this
time.
week.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the great thing about this year is that because of the five channels, there are different, genres that people can choose from. And it's a bigger platform, I guess, with five channels to fill. And all five of them are 24 hours. So there's a lot of content that could be created by the students to be shown across all the channels. So that's really exciting. And I guess it sort of links into my role, which is scheduling. There's two of us. There's myself and Sarah Chase, and we're co-scheduling leads. And our job is to make sure that we strategize about where we're going to place the universities, unless there's a specific request, I guess, because everybody's on different time zones. It has to make sense to that establishment. We also have to think about the branding, the style of how each channel will look, because each channel has its own identity and its own colours, its own look, and its own themes. So there's the branding, like the graphics, in terms of how we come into a program and how we come out of a program. All these finer details is something that myself and Sarah will have to think about. And there's also the plan Bs. What if something goes wrong? This is live TV at the end of the day. And I think, based on our experiences last year, we did have, I think at the beginning of the day, we had a university that had to drop out at the very last minute. And on the morning, Sarah and I had to go about trying to figure out the potentials that we could do. Do we rejig the start times? How do we fill that extra hour? What are we going to fill it with? It's just all these different contingency plans and strategies that we have to think about. But we're lucky because we're not doing it in Excel worksheets, sort of listing everything out. We're actually using technology, like industry equipment. And this year, same as last year, Provis Technologies is providing the system that we're going to put the schedules in.
Hmm.
So essentially, it's real to life. It helps us calculate time zones. We're scheduling in BST time because working with Lavera, their playout system will also play out the order that we choose the universities, I guess, in that we will be counting down in BST, whilst at all the other universities, depending on what their region, there'll be their own time zones as well. So we need to be mindful about how we calculate it and making sure that people can achieve those little slots, the little but big slots that they've been designated as well.
Amazing.
So,
I just feel
yeah.
so bad for that uni that had to drop out at the last minute.
It was a shame, but it did. Do you know what? I think at the end of it, as everybody said, it was real TV, and we ended up
Mm,
filling it with. I think we all ended up doing interviews
mm,
to fill in the slots, and it was off the cuff, and it worked really well in the end because people actually got an insight of people behind the scenes, how we got involved, and also sort of a taster. I think, as Dana said, is a taster of real life, and it's not something that you can really gain from university. I think, and I think all the different areas that Russell has touched upon and Dana has touched upon, and scheduling here, it's not something that I think universities can easily sort of
mm.
teach. And getting on board of On Air is it's been quite a privilege to be able to utilise the experience I've had across 25 years to be able to put into this moment in time, but to be able to share the knowledge for the future generation is
Yeah.
invaluable.
And then they'll be able to, Dennis, I'm talking to you. They'll be able to like sort of take this experience and like do some cool new thing with it that we haven't thought of yet.
The
Yeah, incredible.
possibility. I think the only thing
Uh,
I would say is, sorry,
okay.
just the one. That's what's new for this year. Is we're going to have a little award ceremony for to highlight some of the 2025 student contributions from across the globe as well. So to be able to, and there's sponsorships that the awards are up for sponsorship as well if people are
Oh, amazing.
interested to get involved as well. So that would be brilliant.
So the sponsors could be involved as participants or not. They don't necessarily have to be. They
Exactly,
could be. Right.
exactly. There's lots of options.
Good. Very good. Okay, great. I'm excited. I want to hear more.